Welcome back, folks. We're joined on set by Mr. Allan Poon-King. He's the acting CEO of the Water and Sewage Authority, and he's here to discuss the authority's 2020 Water Supply Management Plan, which will also include areas of unaccounted for water and demand management. Sir, welcome to Morning Edition. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
WASA's 2020 Water Supply Management Plan. What are the fundamental objectives of such a plan?
Well, the objective really is to ensure that we have adequate water for the duration of the dry season, and as happened last year, ensure that what the measures we take there also provide us with supplies going into the wet season, given that we can have below normal rainfall even in the wet season. So we're looking at having the water available in the first instance, and then having it distributed equitably to the public and to the customers. So it's in large part to do that, to make sure that customers get a supply during the dry season.
Now, let us begin at the beginning then. If we're talking about supply issues, so then I'm assuming that within that plan there are some strategies that will deal with increasing the number of sources of water.
Right.
And also tell us a bit about the whole issue regarding the use of desalinated water.
Okay, well, the balance we look at in the first instance is the supply and demand. You can't look at one without the other. So supply would be on WASA's end, having water provided to the customer. And then the demand is between WASA with the public distribution system and customer usage, to make sure that that side, we reduce that and manage it as best we can.
Yes.
In terms of sources, in Trinidad and Tobago, the majority of our water is from surface water sources. Desalination, we do utilize desalination, but it is more costly than what we call traditional sources of surface and groundwater.
Yes.
But at this point in time, desalination is a major component of our water production portfolio. About 60% of our water is from surface water, 20% desalination, and 20% groundwater or wells. So desalination is key at this time. And the plus about desalination is that it is independent of the issues traditionally associated with the dry season. There are issues that arise in the dry season that the two desalination plants, one in Point Lisas and one in Point Fortin, that they need to manage, in that the salinity in the Gulf of Paria goes up in the dry season, so they have a little more salt to take out, and there are other issues that arise, but they generally deal with those. So that is a fairly resilient supply, but as I indicated, is pretty costly compared to the other sources.
But if we were to take a big picture view of WASA's role in the lives of the population of Trinidad and Tobago, including not just individuals but companies, etc., what is the fundamental challenge for WASA? Is it a production issue? Are we not producing enough water? Or is it really a distribution issue where we have challenges with regard to the distribution system itself, and in managing, maintaining, expanding that distribution system? Is that where the real challenge is?
Right. So as I indicated before, your supply and demand. So you are asking where the majority of the problem would lie. Is it on the supply side and the demand side? When you look at the volume of water we produce on a daily basis, the volume itself, just the sheer volume, is adequate to supply the population, including industrial demand and so on. That is at source.
Right.
The issue arises with transporting it from source, where it's available, to where it's needed at the customer's taps.
Right.
So we have issues with transmission, limitations there. And then the larger problem, though, is in distribution, where we have undersized pipes in some cases. And then the ultimate part is when it gets to a customer, our usage patterns are poor generally. So that part contributes to a large extent to the demand outstripping supply. When you look at, we produce, even at the height of the dry season, we were producing 216 million gallons of water a day. With a population of 1.3 million, you can do the maths. and the figures would say we should have enough water, even when you look at unaccounted for water and so on. But some people use excessively, and others, on WASA's side, we have issues with getting water to that part of the population. So it's really, we need to get a balance between having the capacity to move the water around, and then when it gets where it needs to go, we need to ensure that we conserve as much as possible. Use only what you need, not what you want for other purposes.
Okay, so we can, in terms of demand management, we have residential, commercial, industrial customers.
Correct.
Right? Utilizing water resources, freshwater resources in Trinidad and Tobago. Industrial customers are metered.
Correct.
Commercial customers are metered. And that certainly helps with demand management. You pay for what you use. And it becomes an important constraint for them to ensure that they use just enough to get their business done. Residential customers, for the most part, are not metered. Is it not sensible to meter our residents? All of these new HEC communities being put up, is it not sensible to meter our residential customers and make that an important aspect of demand management?
Agreed. And going forward, in fact, the newer developments that are being done now, we request that meters be installed.
Is it happening?
It's happening. But the larger component will be the older developments and older communities where we don't have meters. Now, to transition from unmetered to metered, it's a fairly large capital investment.
Yes.
So on our end, what we're looking to do now is to do it incrementally, as indicated, through asking when new developments are coming on.
Okay.
But a larger program, we have formulated plans in the past as to how we can move forward. But again, it's a funding issue.
All right. Okay, so that's one aspect. So that's demand management. Let's talk about on the supply side. In your language, you speak of unaccounted for water. Water is being produced. It's not getting to where it's needed. Leaks are a critical aspect of that. Aging, distribution, transmission, infrastructure. Isn't that an important aspect of your 2020 water supply management plan as well?
Well, certainly leaks would contribute in large part to that loss of water between production and the customer. And we have been doing more leak repair with respect to trying to get it under control, so the leaks you see in the street. We know we still have challenges there, and we have challenges with road restoration. But insofar as the absolute number of leaks out there, we brought it down to under 1,000 outstanding, whereas a year ago it was hovering around 3,000.
Yes.
So we have done work there, and we know we still have more work to do because we want to get it down even further.
Yes.
So that would be WASA's part of it. On the customer end, we have started, this is part of that campaign, Why I Conserve, from the customer's perspective.
Yes.
That what can the customer do? If you as a customer conserve at your residence, it provides WASA with more water to get to the next customer, the next community.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is fantastic in terms of, encouraging people to change their behaviors, to really look closer at how you utilize this precious water resource. One of the things that you always hear citizens talk about is the lack of coordination sometimes between when the road restoration projects are going on and, of course, WASA itself. And it seems to people that this is just from what they see, their perspective, their perception is that as soon as a road is resurfaced, 2 days later you see WASA coming to dig up the road to fix a leak that may have been there before or it appeared during the road restoration project. Is that a problem with the age of the infrastructure when this heavy equipment is being used to restore roads that eventually some one of them old pipes going to break?
Right. So you hit the nail on the head there in that the situation, for example, we had a recent situation in Port of Spain, I think on Arapita Avenue, where a pipeline ruptured immediately after the road works were done. So when road works are being done, we do have the coordination with the Ministry of Works, and in some cases we will go in, do our inspection. If there are leaks, repair the leaks. Thereafter, when the work starts, you can have a situation with heavy equipment coming in, and then the damage occurs. Then, if it does occur, we need to get in there and do the repair. Again, with Ministry of Works, in some cases, they are still mobilized, and they will do the restoration for us. Otherwise, we would need to come in.
You'd have to come in. But is the conversation regarding the type of equipment that's being used to restore certain roads around the country? Not all the roads are highways. A lot of them are minor roads and so on in neighborhoods, etc., where you may have some of these the older transmission pipelines and so on. The conversation about using a different methodology to restore these roads so that we don't have heavy equipment potentially damaging the older pipelines. Is that conversation happening at all?
Well, to use different equipment, I think the standard equipment and standard approach insofar as the road rehabilitation will go. In some cases, the pipelines, in an ideal world, we would have changed the pipelines and then come in and do the road works.
Right.
And in some cases, we do have projects where we are changing the pipe. When the shoe's on the other foot, WASA is doing something and we would communicate with Works.
Right.
And they would defer, as the case may be, and come in after and do a complete job on the road.
Right.
So that is a case where we have the synergy between the two entities. Other than that, we'd have a situation where we are doing something, we need to restore the road after, or vice versa. They are doing something, we go in, do work. Insofar as the methodology changing, and I'd say it's fairly standard. You can use, if we are doing pipeline installation, you can use trenchless technology in some cases. We are using it currently in San Fernando, in the city of San Fernando, where a wastewater project is being done.
Good. And
you will see, people will be seeing excavations being done at several locations, but you're not seeing pipes being installed along long sections. Basically what is done is they excavate down at one point and excavate at another, and then run the pipe underground between the two.
Fantastic. At least the conversation has begun, and some thought is being given to the methodology being used to accommodate for the fact that we have aging infrastructure on the ground that can be damaged. What can the people of Trinidad and Tobago, the residential customers, expect in particular during this dry season in terms of water supply management?
Okay, well, the dry season last year was particularly harsh, and then we had a below normal wet season. That put us in a position where our reservoirs, which as I indicated, the surface water sources are our major sources of water. So our reservoirs are below where they should be at this time of year. We have been managing production at two of those facilities at Navet and Hollis. Navet services Southeast Trinidad and Hollis Northeast. And we've reduced production at those two sites. That has been ongoing probably for the last 6 months or so, towards ensuring that we have water available going forward.
Right.
Marina, which is our largest, supports the Caroni water treatment plant, and that is a little bit below normal as well for this time, but we had a favorable December. In November, the reservoirs were still pretty low, but following December rainfall and January wasn't great, but it was fair in terms of the numbers with the rainfall. So we do have the availability of water. Obviously, we're going to have some reduction as we traditionally do. And again, we will maximize production with what we are doing,
right, and
we look for conservation. We do have some works we're doing in localized areas where we're doing some wells, and those should be coming on stream February into April. And those are throughout Trinidad and Tobago. So once those come in as well within those localized communities, so in Trinidad you're looking at Aruca, Santa Cruz, Chagaramas, and in Tobago at Calder Hall and Canby we bring in two large wells in there. So that will help with the Tobago situation.
Okay. Yeah. Would you also want the people of Trinidad and Tobago to intensify their water conservation strategies in their homes?
Right. Well, water conservation in anything you do, whether it's in your home, your place of work, or otherwise, we need to use as little water as possible to get what you need to get done. So conservation, both on WASA side and the customer,
Yes.
that's what we are promoting through the I Conserve campaign.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you for being here, Mr. Allan Poon-King. And I do hope that you'll come back on a regular basis.
We will. It's our intent to make sure that the population remains informed.
Yeah, keep people informed. Let them know that, look, this is serious business and you really do need to report leaks. You really do need to conserve as much as you can at home and in your workplace.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.